Alright, so good morning everyone. So medyo tugay ko before naka-release some new videos. Ano. So this time, let's start from the conceptual framework ano, sa next naton nga sa next nga chapter which is the inventories. Right? So for sure, all of you, balaan na kung ano ang inventory. Ano. Because parts ang basic accounting is that na-discuss nyo what is inventories or ano ba lang inventory. Okay? So the end of this chapter, you are expected to learn first to define the inventories, to measure the inventories and apply the cost formula, state the accounting for inventory write down, and the reversal thereof. No? So please take note na in this conceptual framework regarding inventory, I will focus just on the theory part. Ano? Okay, pag-abot natin sa intermediate accounting, we will tackle once again the inventories, which is a detailed, detailed discussion plus solvings. So I hope na ini focus na to na sa theories, no? That, of course, very important man ang theories sa accounting kay theories it ang the foundation, okay, sang every account. Okay, so let's define first what is the inventories or what is the standard that regulates inventories. Okay, so according sa sa accounting ta, inventories is covered by the PAS2, okay, or the Philippine Accounting Standards number 2, and the PAS2 describes the accounting treatment for inventories. No? It recognizes that a primary issue, the accounting for inventories, is the determination of cost to be recognized as asset and carried forward until it is expense. Now, once nga nag-purchase ikaw sa imong nga inventory or sa imong nga mga purchases ng mga ilagbaligya mo, okay, automatic magiging part na siya sa atong inventory which is an asset. Okay? And kung gamito na siya or kung ibaligya mo na siya, automatic magiging magiging expense. Okay? And at the end of the year, ang balaton or sa BC accounting, di ba, ang balta ang at the end of the year kinahanglan naton isipon adtong inventory nga nabilin o ang mga purchases naton nga nabilin, taga mo na siyang i-account as ending inventory for the year. Okay? So please take note nga ang inventory nag-vary depende sa nature sa imong operations. For example, on this merchandising, sa mga merchandising businesses, inang mga buy and sell, gaano lang siya, ang inventory niya is that butong merchandise inventory kag ang purchases, di ba? But pag abot sa aton nga manufacturing, sa manufacturing entity, do may tatlo na sila ka-kinds ng inventory, may raw materials, may work in progress, and may finished goods. No? Okay, so balik to them. Accordingly, PAS2 provides guidance in the determination of cost of inventories. So paano bala nato ni account ang inventory? Okay, including the use of cost formula. So later mabalaan yung mga different cost formula. Pero theories lang. Okay, ang problem niya sini or ang application will be covered na sa aton nga intermediate accounting. Pinsanon ko na to ang computation. Okay? In their subsequent measurement and recognition as expense. Okay? So what is inventories? Ang balde, inventories daw are assets which is held for sale in the ordinary course of business. Take note of this, ordinary course of business. For example, kung imupan, butang tadabi ang mga grocery store, ano ang inventory sa grocery store? Of course, inang mga ginabaligya nila nga mga sari-sari nga goods, okay? Mga essential goods, di ba? Pero kung ang ina nga grocery store, may ara siya sang salakyan, okay, may salakyan siya nga ginagamit sa business, and at the end of its useful life, ang balsang tag-iya, ibaligya niya na ang salakyan. Okay? Although parehas ang nature nga ginabaligya ang inventory kagadtong salakyan, atong salakyan niya hindi siya ma-consider as inventory naman, hindi siya part ng ginatawag nga ordinary course of business ang isa ka negosyo. Okay? Ang ordinary course of business niya is adtong mga goods, ang mga grocers. Okay? In the process or production for such sale, ang mga working process, Ara na siya sa mga manufacturing entity and in the form of materials or supplies to be consumed in the production or in the rendering of services or raw materials. Okay? Amo na siyang tatlo ka klase sa nga inventory during sa sa manufacturing. Okay? So, how we present the inventory sa atong financial statement? Please take note na ang inventory nga ginahabutang naton sa financial statement is ang nabilin nga inventory at the end of the accounting period or at the end of the accounting year. Okay, so kung calendar year, of course, ang sa December 31, then kung fiscal, any month of the year, amo na siya ang ginabutang naton or gina-account naton as inventory ang mga nabilin nga wala pa naton na baligya. Okay, so all items that meet the definition of inventory are presented in the statement of financial position as one line item under the caption inventories. Then ang composition niya, okay, ang breakdown, ang list sa kung ano ang composition sina ang inventory ginabutang sa notes. Okay, inventories are normally presented in a classified statement of financial position as part of the current assets. Okay, nga man current assets, kay we are expecting that inventories will be converted or will be mabaligya naton, okay, within the accounting cycle, within accounting year. Okay. So measurement, how will we measure inventories? Tingnan naman ko, at the end of the year, ma-physical count, may ma-physical count yung inventory, kag kung ano ang nabilin ng inventory, of course, may value na siya, then, paano to siya i-account? Okay? Or paano to siya i-measure? Balde, inventories are measured at the LC-NRV. Anong LC-NRV? How many times siya ma-encounter during sa course ng accounting niya, sa advanced accounting, hasta sa inyong mag-fourth year ka mo, sa mag-review ka mo, always yung hindi ma-encounter ang LCNRV. Ano ng LCNRV? Lower of cost or net realizable value. So, i-measure ta ko, inventory at its lower between the cost and its net realizable value. Pili ka sa duha. Okay? Every time na may problem, duha na ang ginahatag ng values ng inventory. It's either ang cost or ang net realizable value. So, always na daw i-measure ko, ang inventory at pili ka sa duha na cost or net realizable value. So, what is cost? The cost of inventories comprise all costs of purchase, costs of conversion, ang cost of conversion ang paano mo siya gin-process, paano mo siya gin-convert into the final product, and other costs incurred in bringing the inventories to their present location and condition. Okay? Ano naman niya ang net realizable value? Net realizable value is, take notes niya, estimated selling price in the ordinary course of business less estimated cost to sell. Okay? Estimated cost of completion or estimated cost necessary to make the sale. Okay, take notes niya. When we are measuring inventory, okay, dapat we are expecting that the cost is always lower than the net realizable value. Okay? Kung lower ang cost, of course, i-measure ta ang inventory at its cost. Amo na siya ang normal cost din siya. Kaya supposed to be mas lower ang cost sa NRV. But there are times nga ang net realizable value is higher or is lower, is lower than its cost. Okay? So anong konsena? For example, may mga defect ang imong inventory, obsolescence, kung naging obsolete yung inventory. So, mas manubo na ngayon ang net realizable value and ang cost. Okay? And if that happens, ang net realizable value will become its new value. Okay? And kapag na ang natabo, nga mas manubo na ang NRV kaysa sa cost, okay, may accounting procedure sina. Muna siyang ginatawag namon nga write down. Okay? Write down of inventory. Kaya ang normal niya dapat nga supposed to be nga value sa inventory is the cost. Pero kapag nag-lower na ang net realizable value, problema na. Okay? Ang tawag dito, ang write down is part of expense. As part of expense of the income, expense sa aton nga income and expense nga statement. Okay? So later i-discuss ko na siya. Cost, ano ang mga different costs that are expense when incurred? Meaning sini, muna siya ang mga amounts or mga items nga excluded, meaning dulaon mo siya or hindi mo siya pagdalon sa cost sa inventories. Number one, abnormal amounts of wasted materials, labor, of other production costs. Take note, abnormal. Once nga ang ini is normal amounts, meaning inang you are expected na maging ma-incur mo na siya at the production process, okay? Purchase and inventory. Pero kapag abnormal costs or abnormal amounts, okay, expense outright siya. Okay, ano pa? The selling costs. Example, advertising, promotion cost, delivery expense, or freight out part. Okay? Take note, freight out. Diba, malaton ang freight out is part sa atong expense. While ang freight in is part sa aton nga inventory. Kay part siya sa aton nga purchases. Okay? May accounting sa basta nalipat na mo during the basic accounting nyo. What is the difference between the freight in and the freight out? Parehas na lang siya actually. Okay? Kay freight, which is shipping cost. Pero ang freight out, part siya sa aton nga expense, kay part siya sa aton selling, while ang freight in is part sa aton nga purchases or part sa aton nga inventory. Excuse me. Now, administrative overheads. So, anong mga administrative overheads that do not contribute to bringing inventories to the present location and condition? For example, grocery store, di ba? Butang sa dabi, manufacturing company. When you say manufacturing, like the Coca-Cola or ang Dole bala nga sa pineapple, okay? Now, ano ang normal nila nga production, di ba? Ang sa Coca-Cola is ang soft drinks, di ba? Pero may mga sila employees nga wala nga hindi part ng production process like the accounting, di ba? Ang accounting is part of the not part of the accounting process, overall production process. Why? While ang accounting is very essential. Diba? Kaya kung wala accounting, ang mga silang nagalibro and everything. Okay? Ina sila, tawag sila mga administrative costs or mga administrative expenses. Ang mga salaries ang mga president, salary ni vice president, ni treasurer. Okay? So, alright, so back to din, no? So administrative costs, kani ang mga salaries ang aton nga mga essential nga mga which is not part of, hindi siya part sa aton nga production process. Okay? So next cost, which is expense when incurred, is that the storage costs. Storage costs, so bala na nyo na ang warehousing. So storage costs essentially or supposed to be expense na siya from the very nature ng storage cost. But there are instances, okay, like this, so storage costs, unless those costs are necessary in the production process before or further production stage. For example, storage costs sa sang partly finished costs, goods, or inang mga raw materials nga wala pa magamit, which is very essential sa production process, nagiging part siya sa ginatawag nga inventory. Okay. So let's proceed. Now, there are different cost formulas in this inventory. So hindi lang to yung may different methods, may different formulas na ginagamit kita mag-measure sa inventory. Okay, RD may tatlo ko na ginhatag. Number one is the specific identification. What is specific identification? It shall be used for inventories that are not ordinarily interchangeable, okay? Or inventories that are unique, okay? Or inang mga inventory which is small in quantity, gamay lang siya kabilog, pero large in monetary amount, like cars or jewelries, okay? So mag-account ka na the moment nga mag-inventory ka, okay? And the moment nga ibaligya mo siya, ang cost of sales is the cost of specific inventory that was sold. Di ba hambal natin? The record na kita yung ending inventory, mga cost of sales and everything at the end of the year. Pero kung magamit ka sa specific identification like this one, like sa mga cars and jewelries, gina-account mo siya every transaction. Di ka na magulat sa ending ng year in order for you to account the cost of sales, the cost of goods sold. Okay? Kaya naman, ma-determine mo siya kung usually isa or duha mo na sila nga inventory mo. Okay? Ano pag yung inventory? Inang kung ara ka sa real estate, like yung real estate ng mga San Antonio Development, ng San Antonio Angkor Development, mga JP Orleans, ano, muna sa mga real estate company, ang Pueblo, diba? So, ang ilaya inventory, gamay lang, pero large in amount, like ang duta. Diba, ang balaton, ang duta is part of the asset or parts ng aton nga long or non-current asset. Pero compare sila sa ila inang mga real estate developers, tugan ang hambal ko ang Pueblo, eh, ang duta nga ginabaligya nila sa aton or sa mga consumers, ang duta nila ang ginahiwa-iwa, ginasubdivide, okay? It is part of their inventory. Inventory nila na yan. Okay? So under this formula, specific costs are attributed to identified items of inventory. And the record should be maintained every transaction that enables the entity to identify the cost of movement of each specific inventory. Okay? So another cost formula is ang pinaka-common sa mga common sa tanan, common nga different nga businesses, ano? Especially kung ang business mo is goods, okay? So first in, first out, or ang ginatawag nilang FIFO, or kung nakikita niyo na sa mga memes sa Facebook, ano, na ang Dolomite Sand, ang mga first in, first out, kailangan ginaterm ka, okay? So it is assumed that inventories that were purchased sang una should be ibaligya uman una, okay? Munang amo ni siya ang gina-assume sang first in, first out. Kung ano to ang imo ginbakal kahapon, amo muna dapat imo ibaligya yata. Hindi nga ko ang ginbalik ang hindi iya nga kung nagbakal ka kahapon, nagbakal ka man yan ka, unahon mo baligya ang ginbakal mo yan ka. No. Ang first and first out, unahon mo punta na baligya ang ginbakal mo kahapon. Okay? So, cost of sales is based on the cost of inventories that were purchased first. While, ang ending inventory, amo na siya ang mga unsold nga, mga wala na to mabaligya nga inventory at the end of the year. Okay? So, kumbaga ang bansang standard, the standard does not permit the last in first out cost formula. Ano nang last in first out? Ang last in first out, kung ano ang ginbakal mo yanda, although nagbakal ka kahapon, unahon mo gudya baligya ang yanda. Okay, why na siya na-permit sa standard yanda? Pero sa una, oo. But today, sa current na standard, sa mga updated na standard, hindi na siya applicable ang last in first out. Okay? Sa aton nga inventory formula or inventory pricing or costing. Another cost formula is the weighted average cost. Ano naman yung weighted average? So under this formula, cost of sales and inventory are determined based on the weighted average cost of beginning inventory and all inventories purchased or produced during the period. Okay? So namin siya i-illustrate sa computation, which is babalaan nyo man later on. Okay? Ang weighted average siya, kung ang last in first out, ang first in first out, kung nagbakal ka kahapon sa inventory, pagbakal mo sa to piso, then nagbakal ka sang the same inventory yanda, ang presyo niya sa is 2 pesos. Okay? Di ba? Balaton ibaligya na to una ang kahapon. So kung ang mabilin yanda, naging bakal natin, which is ang price niya is 2 pesos, amo na siya ang magiging part sa aton or magiging cost sa aton nga inventory. While ang weighted average, ang kahapon, plus ang yanda naton nga inventory, i-average naton in order to get our cost for the ending inventory. Okay? So may formula din which is magamit na siya later on or sa computation na. So weighted average cost, okay? TGAS or the total goods available for sale divided by pesos divided by in units. Pero later mas pa namin siya sa illustration sa solvings. Okay? Which is magyan natin after sang cash, then next topic ko na accounts receivable, then inventory na daya. Okay? So, net realizable value. Net NRV is the net estimated selling price of the ordinary course of business less the estimated cost to complete and estimated cost to sell. Okay? So, measuring inventory at the LCNRV is in line with the basis of accounting concept that an asset shall not be carried at an amount that exceeds its recoverable amount. Now, there are problems ng hambal nila. Maghatag sila sa problem is that cost, amount, then gamutang sila sa another cost, another amount, which is the recoverable amount. please take note that ang recoverable amount is also the same with the NRV. Kaya kung tanawon ta ang NRV, ang price niya less sang cost to complete kag cost to sell. Do ang function niya do recoverable man siya, recoverable amount man siya. Okay, so hindi ka mo maglasa sa NRV kag recoverable amount, almost the same naman na sila nga duwa. Kaso ang recoverable amount do very broad na siya nga ano, nga word kay sa different asset ginagamit siya. While ang inventory, ang NRV ang ginagamit in terms sa inventory. Okay? So, kung what if cost exceeds NRV or mas lower ang NRV kasi sa cost? Okay? Please take note nga kung nag-exceed ya ang NRV kaysa sa cost or lower ya ang cost kaysa sa NRV, wala kayang problema. Kaya mo na yung normal. No accounting procedure is needed. While ang kung ang cost nag-exceed ya sa NRV, okay? Natin ko naman yung example kanina. Okay, the cost of inventory is automatically written down to its NRV, and the amount of write-down is recognized as expense. Okay. Now, reversal. Okay. Repeated na 9. Ang balaton, kung mag-exceed ang cost sa NRV, automatically whatever the value of whatever the difference between the costs and the NRV should be treated as expense. Should be treated as write down, okay, and recognized as expense. Now, there are times that is pagka next year, yan da ngayon nag-exceed ang cost sa energy, pero pagka next year is that nagbalik na siya normal, which is mas lower na ya ang cost kaysa sa NRV. So ang balaton, yung tawag siya na reversal of write down. We are talking with the same inventory. So if the NRV of a certain inventory increases subsequently, in which an entity recognizes a write-down, the previous write-down must be reversed. Una, kung ito danay reverse. Okay? Kung nag-recognize ka sa piso last year, okay? Then write-down, then yanda nga year is that nag-increase na siya or mas lower na ngayon ang cost sa NRV. Automatically, whatever the difference between that increase, okay, unahon mo na ito i-reverse. Then the amount of reversal to be recognized should not exceed the amount of the original write-down previously recognized. There are some books nga do medyo nag-conflict pagtanaw ko nag-conflict ang ining term na ang reversal should not exceed the amount of the original write-down. Okay? Ang natabo dapat kung nag-recognize ka sa write-down last year na piso, dapat yan da nga year hindi ka mag-recognize income which is more than piso. Kaya ang natabo sila do reversal yan. Pero may mga books na da-increase pero mas galapaw sila sa piso yan. Pero mas stick ko siniya nga nga definition, especially kay Valix na siya ba. Okay? The amount of reversal to be recognized should not exceed the amount of the original write-down previously recognized. Okay? Kaya ga-correspond sa dayon sa atong ginatawag na conservative approach. Okay? Now, recognition as expense. When kita ma-recognize expense sa inventory, the current amount of inventory that is sold, nabaligya siya, okay, is charged as expense. Okay? The period in which the related revenue is recognized. Likewise, the write-down of inventories of NRV and all losses of inventories are recognized as expense kung saan o kita nag-recognize ang write-down. Okay? So, inventories that are used in the construction, okay, I will give a specific example like the Amadulim. Ang Amadulim, nagpatindog building. Okay? Nga building? Inang sa tabok pala sa Cap Auditorium, inang may Lorenzo's ng restaurant ngayon, ilan na building. Okay? Nga building, imo nagamali ko, tag-iya sina is ang Amadulim. Now, Amadulim is a construction company. So, for sure, ang inventory or ang materials na ginagamit ni Amadulim to construct those building is kwao niya halin sa iya own inventory. Okay, anong treatment sina? So, inventories that are used in the construction of another asset is not expense, but rather capitalized as cost of the constructed asset. Gets? So this is amo ni siya ang mga different disclosures nga ginahambal sa standard. So hindi kaya pwede ka dugang, hindi kaya pwede ka ibad dire. Kaya mula ni siya ang gina-disclose sa inventory pag-abot sa actual na standard nga accounting. So ano-ano ni sila? So number one, accounting policies, okay, adopted in measuring inventories. The total carrying amounts ng inventories, okay, carrying inventories carried at fair value less cost to sell, amount of inventories recognized and expense, okay, write down, any reversal, okay, any circumstances or events that led to the reversal of write down, kung anong natabo nga nag-write down, in the carrying amount of inventories pledged as security for liabilities. No need nga lagpaton, okay, usually may mga question hindi isa or duha. So importante lang balaan nyo kung ano ang content sining nga mga disclosures. And that would be all. Okay, so any questions regarding inventories? Okay, pwede ka ask, pwede ka chat sa akin. And again, to siya ulit, especially the computation or pag-abot ka sa intermediate accounting, bumbahan sa computation. Okay, so compute na lang compute rather than maagi pa ta sa theoretical. Okay, so, and thank you.